This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Strozinski. On today's show, this WWE superstar is hurt again. WWE lets another talent walk. Darby Allin says the cancer got cut out of AEW, and WWE looking to enforce a 1-year ban on a wrestler. We've got all of that. We've got your crown jewel results. We've got your AEW WrestleDream prediction show. We've got to talk about what the heck's going on with the vision. Help me break it all down, sort it all out, helping me see things clearly, because he is our visionary. He's the one. He's the only. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Yeah, no doubt. They say the devil is in the details. Oh my goodness. AEW maybe made an epic mistake. Andrade maybe made an epic mistake, because what was not an epic mistake, oh my goodness, the PLE in Perth was absolutely dreamy. It was 5 matches, all delivered, all in a sense of like waking up last Saturday at 8 a.m. It was amazing and highlighted by John Cena and AJ Styles. It was a match for the ages, A+ show. It was amazing to see how Crown Jewel shaked out, and I'm really, really happy to be able to break it down with you today.
Yeah, that specific match, middle of the card, was absolutely fantastic and was essentially everything you needed to see from the show. Like you said, fantastic show, really, really good. This match, though, highlighted all of it, highlighted everything you needed to see. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It was the crown jewel of crown jewel, if you will. But let's kick this thing off the way the show kicked off. Bronson Reed ends up defeating Roman Reigns after Roman Reigns was accidentally speared through a table by Jey Uso. This ends up leaving us with a couple more questions than we do have answers as far as where we're at with the bloodline and what's going on with the bloodline. I want to get your take if you like this or not, because remember, going into this, there were seeds of doubt cast between Roman and Jimmy. Jimmy's looking at Jay kind of weird because he's seeming very Roman-esque. And then Jay comes out and spears Roman Reigns. And then Roman Reigns is like, look, I don't want to see you guys until after Christmas. So go kick rocks. And at this point, we're all kind of left scratching our heads wondering what the heck's going on. And if we're being completely honest, up until this point right here, we were set for a War Games match with Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, possibly Jimmy Uso. There was thoughts being kicked around of maybe CM Punk, maybe LA Knight, and a couple of other guys getting kicked around to fulfill that side of the War Games match that we were supposed to have that is now up in the air, and we'll get to that during news and notes a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later on with the Seth Rollins stuff. So I want to get your sense on where we're at with the more questions than we do have answers for what we're doing next with the bloodline.
Yeah, no doubt. Look, it's you look at it and you say, first and foremost, credit to WWE for being able to create a star. Bronson Reed is now made. It's only the second loss that Roman has taken in a long time, because it was awesome. Because most people didn't believe it. Maybe they thought about it, maybe the interference, but like you said, that's the whole purpose, is to create some intrigue, create some wonderment. What's going to happen with Bronson Reed? What's going to happen now with the bloodline? And what was great was the match was great, solid. The crowd was into it, but the dialogue was so much of character development for Roman. He's basically telling you the why. I want people to respect me. Everybody thinks now that I'm just a guy that relied on help from my family to get ahead. Man, it was so juicy. It was so good. And you recognize when he says, I didn't want to see you guys till Christmas. You now wonder what the heck is going to happen with the bloodline. How badly did they damage the relationship with Roman? It was beautifully done. The writers came to work and came to shine this week.
This storyline is honestly it's the giving tree. It just keeps
Yes.
giving and giving and giving and giving. We just keep getting more, and it's just little tidbits here and there. But in the end, you've got a full plate of something delicious, and it's absolutely fantastic. I love what they're doing with it. Stephanie Vacour ends up defeating Tiffany Stratton in a match. We kind of thought this was going to happen. I think the big thing, and I think it was a little bit understated on the show. This is Tiffany Stratton's first loss
Yep.
this year. She has not lost a match all year long, not since she's gotten that title. This is the first little crack in the armor I think we're seeing with Tiffany Stratton. So I think it paints a bigger picture. It's part of a bigger story. But Stephanie Vacour gets that W, which we think was huge for her. But I think there's more to come with Tiffany Stratton, possibly. And it sounds like there's going to be another match with Jade Cargill. Maybe that's where Jade Cargill gets the belt. We'll see what happens. But what are your thoughts on Vacour getting the win, which we both felt, I think, was huge, and then Tiffany Stratton taking the loss? And I think maybe that is setting up for what's next in her evolution.
Yeah, Stephanie Vacour got the rocket ship strapped to her. You can see it. Triple H is all about Stephanie. And that's fine. Look, Tiffy, it doesn't get less over. She doesn't have any real problems losing. It's fine. It's no big deal. Now you go back to your storyline and try to continue to evolve and be better on the mic and have cleaner matches. Basically your mission is make Nia Jax look like a professional. It's going to be tough to do. You got to weather the storm. You got to make sure that, Jade Cargill and Nia Jax don't end your career. And we say it in jest, but you got to be serious with those two. Every time you step in the ring, you got to be careful because they're upper echelon, but they're not elite yet in terms of performances. And so for Tiffy, I think that it's fine. It was a good performance, good match, and I think that for where it was placed on the card, I thought it was absolutely perfect.
And then we get to, like I said, the crown jewel that was crown jewel: John Cena, AJ Styles.
Oh,
Look, I was surprised that that John Cena defeated AJ Styles in this match. But the amount of homage that was paid to different wrestlers between both of these guys. John Cena pulled out he attempted a 619. He did Bray Wyatt's sister Abigail. He did Chris Jericho's Walls of Jericho. He did the Miz's show cashing finale. AJ Styles had a bunch of his own as well. I just thought this match was absolutely incredible. And it's awesome to see two guys, because if we're being honest, you and I, these were two wrestlers that were generational. These were two guys that came along at about the same time. They're going to go out at about the same time. AJ Styles has made it very clear he's retiring next year. These are two guys that have really defined a specific generation of wrestling. And whether you were an early TNA fan or not, AJ Styles was that guy. And he was the guy who had to go over to New Japan to really show his worth. And then WWE were like, yeah, we'll cash that check for you finally. John Cena was the guy who was put into the WWE machine. They chewed him up. They spit him out. He became the prototype, who then became the John Cena that we've got today. These are two guys who really and truly are iconic wrestlers. And I think they put on an iconic match, absolutely show-stopping in it and of itself. I want to get your takeaway from this match. It was absolutely incredible.
yeah. Thank you, fans, for really clamoring for this matchup. It wasn't originally. I mean, really, it's kind of stupid for the WWE for WWE's production team to really let that out. That you really didn't think that maybe AJ Styles and and John Cena would really connect and have a good match. So look, in the end, however it got here, it was great to see John Cena write that special intro that he gave to the ring announcer, and it just really kind of kicked off. Like, it really, in the end, I think that what makes John Cena special is he knows that he's standing across from a wrestler's wrestler. And John Cena, while he wasn't the best wrestler, he became the biggest personality and the biggest workhorse. I think wrestlers can understand and respect what a guy like AJ Styles represents. You're looking at a Shawn Michaels live and in person. You're looking at a manifestation of Bret Hart. He's a wrestler's wrestler. And so for what happened, it was pure respect really from John Cena to AJ Styles because of the fact that their matches were 10 years apart when it was really kicked off. So it was beautiful. It was just nice. It was respectful. It was professional wrestling. And one time where when you don't need a story, see, when AEW does it day after day, week after week after week, it's stupid. For WWE, you can put on good matches. And I just think that for that one, that is what wrestling can become. If you're not going to have a story, if you have a great wrestler like AJ Styles and John Cena working, it was great. And yeah, all the homages was great. You know, the cross-gushing finale from The Miz and the beautiful moment with Bray Wyatt. It was just a beautiful match. Now, look, in the end, you know, John Cena didn't want to take another loss. I get it in regards to the feel-good moment of John Cena. But AJ Styles, look, he's a man. He's a legend. He's made. And everybody knows it because of the reaction that he gets and the respect that he gets, and just by how crowds feel about him. It was just beautiful to see. And man, go back and watch it. If you only get to see a handful of matches and you're not hardcore like Adam and I, just go watch John Cena, AJ Styles from Perth. Amazing, simply amazing.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Just like you said, I don't think we can put this match over enough. Like you said, if there's one match you can go watch, just go watch this. It was great. Our next match was Io Sky and Rhea Ripley defeating the Kabuki Warriors. I think we anticipated that. This led us to our main event, which was Seth Rollins defeating Cody Rhodes for the 85-pound Crown Jewel Championship that gets displayed one time a year and then goes into some Saudi vault to only be broken out that one time of year. This was that match. In this match, there is speculation that Seth Rollins went to go do a diving headbutt from across the ring and possibly hurt himself, which might have led us to what we got on Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw, if you watched it, I think you were done with it by the time 12:30 if you watched it live, because I love when they're in other countries because they do get to do shows so much earlier in the day and so much quicker. So you get these results essentially by the time 3 o'clock rolls around, which is awesome. But Seth Rollins ends up getting destroyed and kicked out of his own group. You had Braun Breaker, and it was kind of set up during the show. Braun Breaker just seemed a little bit off throughout the show. Ends up spearing Seth Rollins. I'll be honest with you, when I watched the spear take place, I could have swore to God Seth Rollins' back of his head bounced off the mat. It didn't look like he took that spear as good as he possibly could have. At that point, Heyman looks a little bit concerned, and Bronson Reed's like, what's going on here? And Braun Breaker rolls over to Bronson Reed, and he's like, you have a choice to make. You're either with me or you're with him. And basically, it's get on or get put down. And Bronson Reed says, all right, I'm going to get on. And he pulls Seth Rollins over, hits a tsunami. And in the end, you've got Paul Heyman standing in the middle, raising both of these guys' hands. To me, felt a little early. I thought this was a little bit early for this to kick off. I think from the reports, it sounds like WWE pivoted hard. It didn't seem like this breakup was supposed to take place till after WrestleMania, which I think I liked more. We were supposed to get a War Games with The Vision, possibly Austin Theory getting incorporated into the group. That's a name that's been kicked around. You were supposed to have The Vision take on Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, and an additional pieces added into that mix. Like I said, whether it's LA Knight, CM Punk, I felt like that was probably the proper way to go. I understand that they pivoted, and we will talk about that. I don't know. You want to talk about why we pivoted now, or you want to talk about why we pivot later on? Because I got the details on it, and we can do it however you want to do it. It was a large part of news and notes.
Yeah,
but we can go now if you want.
Yeah, I mean, no, you have to. But to give it context, I mean, they pivoted because there's allegations and allegedly Seth Rollins is hurt. And it's going to be a situation in which it's going to be a long-term situation. So it sucks. But in the end, sometimes you get the realization of what you want pretty fast. And look, man, Braun Breaker, when he did it, the crowd loved it. I kind of liked it. You know, even if it wasn't.
He looks like a badass.
He looks like a guy. Exactly.
I don't know if you've seen Scott Steiner's post on I believe it was Instagram or Twitter. I don't know. He did Steiner math, and it was great. Absolutely unreal, dude.
It was great.
Scott Steiner's still a G.
Dude, it took it to another level. So even if it wasn't time to be at the right time, I get it, but I liked it. I thought, you know what? Braun Breaker's the man, and he's the guy that you can put at the forefront. Everybody, I mean, when Paul Heyman says this guy's going to main event a lot of WrestleManias, what's the point of rushing it? What's the point of waiting? It's a now society. It makes a lot of sense, because if you need to write off Seth Rollins, there's no better way than for Braun Breaker to say, I'm the big dog now, I'm the alpha, and I'm not sitting back for nobody. No problem by me. I think it's something that's so intriguing, you got to pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with you 100% there. I just would have liked
Yeah.
that longer build. I like that. I like that uncomfortable anticipation. Like, you know
Right,
what's
right.
going to happen. Just let it happen already. I like them dragging that out a little bit. But I'll give you what I've gotten written down in news and notes.
You got it.
Just to kind of add a little bit of context, like you said. So I start this off by this WWE superstar is hurt again. Stop me if you heard this before, but Seth Rollins is injured. Yep, banged up. We get some details on Rollins' status courtesy of a new report from PW Insider. According to Mike Johnson, the decision to remove Rollins from the division was made due to Seth suffering an injury during his match with Cody Rhodes at Crown Jewel. The belief within WWE is that Rollins injured his left shoulder while performing the coast-to-coast diving headbutt on Rhodes, who was hanging upside down on the opposite turnbuckle. The hope internally was that it was a broken arm and a clean break so he could be back by December. However, in an update from Wrestling Observer, it's been confirmed that Rollins' injury is in fact legitimate and it's to his shoulder. The current expectation is that he will undergo shoulder surgery as soon as possible. The exact damage to his shoulder and length of time he'll be out is currently unknown, but it will be at least several months if he does undergo surgery. WWE now has a decision to make on what to do with Rollins' World Heavyweight Championship, as he was planned to defend it against CM Punk at Saturday night's main event on November 1st. So we're like 2 weeks away from that. 2 weeks away. Punk won a number one contenders match on Raw just before Breakker turned. So he's owed the title match, and this will have to be evolved into the new equation somehow. Not sure what they're going to do there. But again, this is a guy who you put and this is a guy who wants the weight of the company. And it just seems like every time they put it on him,
Yeah.
he gets hurt. You know, it was his ACL in his one knee, then it was the ACL on that same knee, and then it was the ACL in the other knee, and then it was a shoulder, and now it's another shoulder, and then it's another knee injury, and it's a foot injury. It's always something. As good as Seth Rollins is, and let's be honest, he is an absolute fantastic wrestler. Guy is great. And he should go down as one of those, when we talk about the generational talents, right? When you start naming off all the guys who are kind of, I guess, on that Mount Rushmore of a certain time period. He's one of those guys that should be up there. The problem is he tends to break down every time they put the gold on him. And it becomes really disruptive to really good storylines. Like, I felt like the storyline was tracking in a really good direction, and now they've got to pivot. If you've had a shoulder injury, you know you don't bounce back from it. You're not coming back from it in like 6 weeks, 8 weeks at the longest. You're not doing that. It's going to take at least 3 to 6 months for you to come back and be able to do what you have to do. And these guys get world-class treatment. I'm not saying that they don't. I'm not saying that they don't do things to get themselves back in time, but it's going to take time, and that's the problem, because we're now setting and we're laying the foundation down for what we're supposed to be doing with WrestleMania. And you've got different stops along that way that are supposed to help evolve this storyline, that are supposed to help take it to that next level. And again, we're here where we now have to pivot hard, and we've got to do something else because Seth Rollins, again, is injured. And let's be honest, was that diving headbutt necessary?
Not at all.
Cool moment.
Not at all.
Cool moment. But you didn't need it for the story. You didn't need it for the match.
Nope.
And it was a silly risk, and it was a silly mistake. And now we're here.
Exactly.
And that is frustrating.
You said it perfectly. Silly. It doesn't need to. Part of being a champion is being available. Like, the company has to realize, okay, we can't give this guy opportunities because he fucks up storylines. Simple as that. So he's upper main event, but can you give him a 3, 4, 5, 6 month run? No. It's the new era. And can I interest you in a tournament for the belt? And clearly we know who's going to win this tournament. And I'm excited to see it because, look, in the end, you know, you could do another screw job with CM Punk where, guess what? He's about to win it and some big German dude comes back and ruins it all. Or does the big, bad German dude come back to win it all? Who knows? But in the end, we now know who's next. And let's give it to the guy that's been creating a lot of good moments, who's also near the tail end of his career and who's managed to stay healthy in his last 18 months.
That's true. That was a guy who the injury bug bit him hard, right? Whether it was while he was in AEW and then when he transitioned over to WWE, and yet he's been able to stay healthy. And again, it's just one of those things. Maybe Seth Rollins and his body need just time to go away and rehabilitate and repair. I mean, you look at a guy like Roman Reigns, and let's be honest, Roman Reigns does not wrestle a ton. But when he does, it's an absolute spectacle. And the thing is, when he does go away, he allows his body to rest up. He does other things. He normally comes back looking better than he looked before he left. And then he wrestles 1, 2, 5 shows, and then he's gone for a stretch. And he comes back and he wrestles 1, 2, 5 shows, then he's gone for a stretch. And the guy's never really banged up. He's got that fantastic contract that we've talked about. Would we like to see him more? Absolutely. But he's not a guy that you're worried about putting a championship on and him breaking down. With Seth Rollins, it seems like he's always breaking down. He seems like he's that brand new Dodge Ram pickup truck that you got. It's got the shiny wheels. It's got the really flossy grill. And for some reason, the carburetor's always getting gummed up and the thing won't start. And you got to get a jump, and then you got to take it to the dealership, and they've got to do a little bit of work on it, and they get it right, and they send it back out there, and you get it down the street, and then you got to turn around and you got to go right back again. That's what it feels like with Seth Rollins, and it's really, really frustrating. We're doing this a little bit early because WrestleDream is on a Saturday. We do have a couple of other obligations, you and I, so we haven't had a chance to take in Friday Night SmackDown. Was there anything else from Monday Night Raw that you liked or that you wanted to talk about before we transition to AEW and their WrestleDream show?
No, I thought it was a good week for Raw, 8 a.m. Look, Penta is in some interesting storylines moving forward. Listen, man, if you're not enjoying it, Dom's work has been credible, man.
His work has been great. Absolutely fantastic.
Credit to the DOM. He's taken the heel tactics to the next level, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. So it's been fun. And I don't know, man. Raw at 8 a.m. was real interesting to pay attention to, and I really like the fact that CM Punk won the number 1 contenders match, and it all went down. Now, he didn't get to celebrate because of what we talked about earlier, but hell, kudos to Raw, and I'll just name it. Raw was the show of the week in my mind, and I think that it was clear, hands down. When you set forth the path for the Braun Breaker, let's go, man. When he speared Seth Rollins, the crowd loved it. And no doubt about it, Bronson Reed and Paul Heyman are going to quickly follow. Let's talk about WrestleDream. Now, what my interest level is, it's okay, but in regards to the development of all the stories, it feels like they could have got here a little bit differently, but here we are. It's an interesting opportunity because, look, in the end, we can't just keep harping on the fact that they don't tell stories. They just put the matches together, and I do expect a lot of these matches to be something that when you sit down and watch it, there's going to be very much a lot of intrigue. And I will say this, they have put in the effort with Darby Allin and Mox. That is something that when you see it, the sit-downs and what they've done, they've highlighted one story, which is good. Now, they just got to build on that to be able to filter down to get the next, basically, not carbon copy of WWE, but you got to make some new stars. You got to highlight some of these guys because you lost MJF because of what he's been doing away from the ring. That story with the Hurt Syndicate was interesting, but it didn't really feel like it was flushed out. You have so many.
It didn't really go anywhere.
It didn't go anywhere, right? It really fell flat, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I do think that there's opportunities here moving forward to learn, and at least they start with one, and the one that they did with Mox and Darby Allin is very interesting.
Yeah, and again, they've dedicated quite a bit of time, in specifically on Dynamite. I think that specific storyline ended up getting 2 and 3 segments, and they were brutal segments. And they helped flesh out that story, and they really helped develop what they're doing there. But look, this is a AEW pay-per-view. These things are always fantastic. We go into these things and we're always like, they could have did a better job telling stories. They could have did a better job with this. They could have did a better job with that. And then what happens is you get to the pay-per-view and you're like, oh my God, it was a fantastic pay-per-view. Like, did you get a chance to watch it? You should have watched it. Go watch it again and replay. We're going to watch it one more time. We generally end up watching these things twice because they're usually that good. So I'm expecting the same exact thing. I'm expecting another really, really good pay-per-view. Takes place Saturday at 8 p.m. If you've got the HBO Max, you can rent it there. Otherwise, go through your pay-per-view provider. We kicked this whole card off with our pre-show. We got multiple matches for the pre-show, like normal. We've got a tag team match. We've got FTR versus Jet Speed. I'm going to go Jet Speed in this match. I think Jet Speed gets the dub. I think FTR, we're just basically waiting for Adam Copeland to come back.
Right.
I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what the setup is there. But I think you've got two really young talents, and I know you're a huge fan of Speedball Mike Bailey. This is another way to highlight these guys. And I think this is a match where they get the win, and it gives them a little bit of credibility. FTR doesn't need the win. FTR made men.
Yep.
Jet Speed gets the dub, and we keep things moving.
Nice. I'm going to go with FTR. I do think that it's just one of those things where, Bailey and his partner are going to do a lot of great spots. They'll get over, but not go over. So FTR wins it, baby.
All right, we got another tag team match. We've got Penelope Ford and your girl, Megan Bain, who is impressive looking, taking on Willow Nightingale and one of my favorites, Harley Cameron. I want to say the faces win this match, again, because I love Harley Cameron. I think Willow Nightingale, I think she's fantastic, does not get enough shine. I just kind of feel like at a certain point, the heels got to get a win, and it really does feel like parts of this tag team have been feuding with each other for what feels like forever. I want to say the heels win, and I'm going to go heels, even though I want the faces to win. So I'll go heels on this one.
Absolutely. Give me Megan Bain, and I think that she's going to get over. I think it's time to show her and highlight hers or let her pin maybe Harley Cameron. We'll see how it shakes out.
All right. We then have an 8-man tag team match. We've got the Conglomeration taking on the Death Riders. Not a whole lot to really delve into here. We're going to go with the Death Riders for the Dubski.
Yep, Death Riders for the win.
Okay, that brings us to our main card. We kick the show off with the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and MVP versus The Demand, Ricochet, Toa Leona, and Bishop Khan in a trios match. This has been upgraded to a Tornadoes trios match, so no tags need to be made. Just going to be all-out chaos during this match. You had on Dynamite parts of the Demand take out parts of the Hurt Syndicate as Shelton Benjamin got pinned. I think the Hurt Syndicate gets the win back. I'm going to go Hurt Syndicate for the W.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that's a group that you can highlight more and get them to the next level continuously throughout the rest of the year. Hurt Syndicate handles their business.
All right, we've got Jamie Hayter taking on Thekla. How do you see this one playing out? I feel like you can go either way and make a strong argument for both of these wrestlers.
Yeah, right. It's going to be really tough. But I do think that from what the trends maybe kind of look like from what we've seen, I think Thekla gets the win to continue her rising star.
Yeah, I think Jamie Hayter is somebody who I was reading some different stuff. She recently did an interview with somebody, and it kind of talked about what she wants to do at the end of her career and kind of where she's at. And just like reading through it all, reading through the excerpts, I was just kind of like, this is a person that I feel like, whether it was due to injury, whether it was visa issues, whether it was just AEW's booking, this is somebody who should be bigger. This is somebody who should essentially be the AEW version of Becky Lynch. And she's just not. I don't know what's happened. When she came back, I was incredibly excited. I wanted to see what they were going to do with her. And I just kind of feel like she came back, she then got hurt, and then it's just kind of stagnated a little bit. I think Thekla gets the win. I think it leads to maybe a more interesting story down the road. I think Thekla is honestly probably the one where if you needed to put money on somebody to be that star, should probably be her. We'll see what the booking says, but I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go with Thekla. The Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson taking on Jurassic Express for $500,000. This is another one of those weird Tony Khan matches where he puts a dollar amount on it. I'm going to go Jurassic Express for the win. This one I'm really divided. It's like 49.5, 50.5. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't feel strongly one way or another. I could be swayed, but I'm going to go Jurassic Express on this one.
Yeah, because they're new. You would think that that's the way to go, right? Is to highlight this new team and send them to the next level. But until proven otherwise, I do think the Young Bucks are the team to beat. They need to continue to ascend, and I do think that you at some point, a nice run of wins is going to be worthwhile. And I do think the momentum gained by beating the Jurassic Express will do some things for the Young Bucks. You have to. The Young Bucks are the better team.
All right, our next match, we're going to go Brody King and Bandito versus Okada and Takeshita for the AEW Tag Team titles. News, you kind of seen a little glimpse of it on Dynamite if you watched. Takeshita is now the IWGP Heavyweight Champion, so he is the big dog over in New Japan. I think that's fantastic. You've seen a little bit of jealousy come out in Okada. I think that plays out in this match. I think in the end, Okada and Takeshita ends up coming to blows.
Yeah.
They've been doing a good job building this, and they've been laying little nuggets down, and I think we're going to get all of it. So because of that, I'm going to go with Brodito for the win here.
Yes, a match that sets up a feud. What do you know? Easy opportunity, and I think exactly how you see it is the way to go. Takeshita Okada, they can continue to rival and have a nice feud for the next handful of years, and they're going to have great matches, and I do think it's perfect. Takeshita winning the IWGP title, it's great for him.
Man.
It's huge, and it's a big deal, and I do think it elevates his star, and I do think that the way in which it goes down, hell, I wouldn't mind if Takeshita just gets mad at Okada and just knocks him out. So whoever ends up, turning on who, it doesn't matter as long as we do get this feud moving forward.
You remember like 2.5 years ago when we were like, man,
Yeah.
this is Takeshita guy.
Dude, he burst on the scene. We loved him, right?
They should really build him up.
Jeez, right?
He's a superstar. And then they did whatever the hell they did with him. Thank God New Japan has eyes for talent, and they're like, oh yeah, let's put a championship on this guy. So good on them. It wasn't like we didn't see it all along, but apparently Tony Khan, I don't know, man. It questions flags. We're throwing flags. That's what we're doing. A guy who is a superstar, Kyle Fletcher, taking on Mark Briscoe for the TNT Championship. I'm gonna go Kyle Fletcher. Look, I feel like Kyle Fletcher right now is the big shark in a very small pool. As good as Mark Briscoe is, and as much as I like Mark Briscoe, I think Kyle Fletcher is the guy who deserves the run. He's the guy who you deserve to put the money in and put the money on. Kyle Fletcher gets the win and helps elevate his star higher.
Agree. It'll be a nice match. This one has a chance to be sneaky fun. It could go a lot of different ways, and something tells me there'll be some extracurricular type stuff that goes on in this kind of matchup, whether it be into the crowd or some wildness that's going to happen. It'll be violent, it'll be aggressive, and it'll be worthwhile to watch.
Maybe some of the beat up guys from the conglomeration come out and fend off some of the Don Callis family. Don Callis family now sitting at like I think 13 members. Absolutely nuts, bro. We'll move to the women's match. We've got Chris Statlander taking on Toni Storm for the AEW Women's Championship. Toni Storm's a bit of a wreck right now. Doesn't know who she is without her title. Chris Statlander seems like she's holding her own. They did a promo, and then they brawled out in the ring, and the brawl out in the ring, I think, was more interesting than the promo. I thought Toni Storm really carried her own in the promo. I was underwhelmed by Chris Statlander in it. That being said, Statlander just won this belt. You're not taking this belt away from her right now. That would just be stupid. As much as Toni Storm is fantastic, and I love what Toni Storm is doing, I feel like this rematch came way too soon. I felt like you needed to give Chris Statlander a little bit of run, let Toni Storm really kind of wallow in it, and just try to figure her way back out to the top to get that rematch. I'm going Chris Statlander. I love Toni Storm. I wouldn't be surprised they put it on Toni Storm. It just doesn't make sense to put it on Toni Storm right now.
No, exactly. You're absolutely right. So, Chris Statlander, this match has a chance to be really special. The women have been holding it down in AEW in a big way.
All right, our next match, it's going to be a bloody one. It's Darby Allin, Jon Moxley. These are two dudes who love to bleed. They love to do crazy shit. I expect glass. I expect tacks. I expect a casket. I expect possibly getting hit by a car. Maybe a flamethrower. Maybe a Molotov cocktail. I don't know. I expect a lot of crazy stuff in this match. If they could wrap the ring in barbed wire, that wouldn't surprise me. It's an I Quit match. Who do you have winning this one? This one, I feel like you could toss a coin, and again, you're not going to be wrong.
Yeah.
To me, it seems very, very, very much 50-50.
Yeah, but you have a returning star. I think that this is like a perfect Bronson Reed scenario. You can't have Moxley win this. You got to have Darby Allin because he's the younger star. He's somebody that's come back, and this is a kind of match that you can build a reputation on. However they do it, I hope it's not gimmick. I hope it's a true I Quit. I hope it's rugged, and this one will live up to the expectation. Who knows what the hell they're going to throw at each other. Let's just hope that they both walk away relatively healthy. But to me, this is a perfect opportunity, if you're watching, to be able to create the next dude that's going to continue to look. If they have Moxley win, what's there to believe in Darby Allin? There's nothing. There's nothing there. It's just a guy that went away and came back, and he's a high spot expert. That's about it. There needs to be this one's for the character. So I'm voting for the character. Darby Allin wins it.
Yeah, and the whole thing with Darby Allin too is he never says I quit.
Right.
He never does. John Moxley has said I quit before. The thing that has me a little bit troubled with this, right, is I feel like John Moxley's on a string of losses right now. I feel like he's lost 2 or 3 high profile matches. This is another high profile match. But like you said, the whole thing for the character of Darby Allin is he's crazy. He does big stunts. He does nuts stuff. And he never says I quit. He would rather die in the ring than say I quit. Maybe that's the direction they go. I don't know. Maybe that might be some of the gimmicky stuff that you're talking about. But I'm going to lean towards Darby Allin, thinking that John Moxley probably needs this win more than Darby Allin does right now. But I'll go Darby Allin. Next, we've got Hangman Page, Samoa Joe for the AEW World Championship. I'm going Hangman Page.
Straightforward,
It makes sense right now. I think Samoa Joe shakes his hand and they're good to go and they move on. I feel like this is just kind of a feeder feud for Hangman right now.
Absolutely. Perfect feud. And it's an opportunity for Samoa Joe to gain. Look, he's had a great career, stop and starts, but his run in AEW has been okay. But I think a nice opportunity to test Hangman Page is always going to be great. And I do think that it's a nice feud, nice match for Hangman Page. For Hangman Page to get this W, it'll look good on his resume when he'll have that he's beat Samoa Joe in this title reign.
When we take a look at calling the card, last week I got the point for Crown Jewel. I lead you by 3, 6.5 to 9.5. We've got a lot of different stuff here, so we'll see. You could run away with this. It could be close. We could end up getting a half a point. Who knows what happens? There's going to definitely be a winner and a loser, I feel, in this pick'em. We'll see what takes place next week. We both agree show of the week is Monday Night Raw. Are you ready for some news and notes, my friend?
Real fast, I do want to highlight Bound for Glory, the Hardys.
Oh, yeah.
And
Fantastic.
It was great.
Absolutely fantastic.
It was great. You can go check it out.
Breaking.
Yes. Santana got the W. Congratulations. It was great. Look, TNA deserves respect. They're about to probably get a TV deal off of it. They've done well. They broke a record. They had Chris Bay come out to announce that over 7,500 people attended. And Lowell, Massachusetts, I believe, really showed out. And it was good because I really do think that Santana can lead that company moving forward. It was a feel-good show. TNA, Bound for Glory. Go check it out. And I do think that a lot of people got themselves over. And it's a company that's building momentum. You're getting talked about. You're getting looked at. A lot of people really respect how they did Santana. Maybe they, moved on from the celebration a little too fast. That's probably the only thing I didn't like. I thought he deserved his moment with his daughter a little bit longer. But look, in the end, you want to move through feuds. You get, Nick Nemeth coming out and you get Elias coming back. So it was really cool. I really, really respected what they did. And keep an eye on TNA. And we will hear, too, at the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast. Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What made the list?
Yeah, real quick, with Bound for Glory. Team 3D giving their boots to the Hardys.
Ugh.
Again, heartbreaking, and it was fantastic. Those are 2 tag teams of our generation that we fell in love with, and arguably some of the best guys to ever do it in the ring. Really wish, this is just a little side note, really wish Jeff could have just not been on the sauce as much as he was on the sauce. But neither here nor there. Let's get into some news and notes. WWE lets another talent walk out the door or limp out the door. A WWE star has announced his departure from the company as his contract is not going to be renewed when it expires next month. Ridge Holland issued a statement writing, I've been informed that WWE will not be renewing my contract when it ends on November 14th. WWE are still going to cover my rehab from injury, but my guaranteed pay will end. Quite frustrating to say the least, as I cannot work for another 6 months due to the aforementioned injury with a family of 5 to support. My career with WWE has been blighted by misfortune, but I'm still thankful and grateful for the opportunity and experience. The shining light that has always kept me going is a huge support from a handful of special human beings. Thank you. I'm unsure what lies ahead for me in terms of wrestling, but going forward, I'll be working hard to heal up, and in that time, I will launch my own online coaching business. Stay tuned. Cheers. Ridge Holland underwent surgery for a Liz Frank injury he suffered while working a TNA match against Moose. He has been with WWE since May of 2018, starting in NXT in the US, but soon moved home to NXT UK and had been working underneath his real name, Luke Mency, before a full-time move to the US in 2020 and becoming Ridge Holland. In 2021, he was called up to WWE SmackDown and formed the Brawling Brutes with Sheamus and Pete Dunne. In late 2023, the Brutes split up, and Holland actually requested to move back to NXT and gave up over $200,000 a year to go back to NXT to sit there and try to rehome some of his craft and make himself better. I find that to be outstanding. This is a guy who gets shit on a lot because he's done a lot of dumb things, but I find that to be a very, very perceptive move that he made. Where he remained until the end of his time with the company, most recently revamping himself as the Steam Pig on WWE Evolved and at NXT Live events. WWE, I don't know if this is just, to me, it just seems like it's a very TKO thing to do. You've got guys who are getting injured and they're just getting released or they're not getting re-signed. Carly Rae announced that she was pregnant and WWE let her contract expire as well. Basically, if WWE can't use you, they're just letting you walk out the door. They're looking at saving dollars and pennies on dollars here. So don't be surprised if you hear a lot more of these things coming out. Darby Allin says the cancer got cut out of AEW. Former two-time AEW TNT champion Darby Allin appeared as a guest on Ariel Helwani's show discussing his recent climb of Mount Everest and his other risk-taking activities inside and outside the ring. During the interview, Allin was asked by Helwani to describe the current vibe within AEW, to which he answered, "It's amazing." And I'm not just saying that. A few years ago, you definitely felt the tension, but now it's like everybody's on the same page. Let's make this place as good as possible. I feel like a lot of people truly have realized how good they have it because Tony wants everybody in the ring, in their personal lives to be happy, and that's really good energy. Like, hey, everybody be the best version of yourself. And I feel like right now, more than ever, everybody's on the same wavelength. Everybody has the same goals. Helwani then asked what changed within the company to get to this point, with Allin replying, "The cancer got cut out." Helwani then asked what the cancer was exactly, with Allin saying, "Just egotistical wrestlers that don't want to lose." Allin then said he's referring to a group of people rather than just one individual when pressed by Helwani. So if you thought it was CM Punk, probably more along the lines of guys like Andrade, who we'll be talking about here shortly, and maybe a guy like Rusev, maybe CM Punk, just guys who didn't want to do the job. So speaking of Andrade, WWE wants to restrict a wrestler from wrestling for a year. Yes, a year. WWE is reportedly looking to enforce a 1-year non-compete clause on Andrade after he was fired by the company and then returned to AEW. News of Andrade being fired by WWE for disciplinary issues emerged in mid-September before he appeared on AEW's Dynamite on October 1st. Well, within the usual non-compete period, attacking Kenny Omega and joining the Don Callis family. The story that emerged at the time was that because of the nature of the firing, Andrade didn't have the usual 90-day non-compete attached to his WWE departure. The phrasing of the WWE non-compete clause in the usual sense is something of a misnomer, as it's really just 90-day notice or 30 for NXT, where you're still under contract and still get paid. But if you're outright fired for something like a breach of contract rather than just a company's decision, there's a different clause in place, which is more of an actual non-compete, which it appears is what's happening with Andrade. After the aforementioned October 1st appearance, he hasn't appeared for AEW again and hasn't been added to the promotion's website roster page. According to Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Live, they're trying to hold him to terms of his deal, the terms of the TKO contract. I believe this was in the prior contract as well, but for sure in the new ones. It is if you're fired with cause, they're going to try to hold you to a 1-year non-compete. Fired for cause or for breach of contract. So what they're trying to do is not allow him to work for a year. The cause is essentially in place as a deterrent to stop talent purposely getting themselves fired because they want to leave and go straight to work for somewhere else. Something similar to kind of what he tried to do when he was in AEW. However, that'll be questioned, and whether or not it'll hold up if challenged in court still remains to be seen. So we'll see what takes place there. And finally, WWE may have confirmed a date and a location for a WWE PLE. The planned date and location for the WWE Elimination Chamber 2026 has been revealed courtesy of a pair of recent reports. For several months, we have known that the 2026 Royal Rumble will be headed to Riyadh, and WrestleMania 42 will be staged in Las Vegas for the second straight year. However, there has been little word on WWE's plan for the events that typically are sandwiched between the two. Elimination Chamber. In the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer revealed that Chicago was planned to host the event on February 28th. And plan has been since confirmed by WrestleNomics. In a recent report, WrestleNomics stated that they have now confirmed Meltzer's report with multiple sources that Chicago is indeed scheduled to host the Elimination Chamber on February 28th. That means Elimination Chamber will be taking place exactly 4 weeks after the 2026 Royal Rumble, which is set for January 31st, and 7 weeks before WrestleMania 42 on April 18th and 19th. And that's going to do it for this week's wrestling news and notes, my brother.
Make sure you follow Adam on X at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. If you are in the Washington area, the John Cena final match tickets are there. Really, in the end, the story coming out from there is they probably should have booked a stadium. They could have got 50, 60, 70,000 people. There were 60,000 people in the queue, for the pre-sale. I mean, you didn't think that potentially that maybe a big amount of people want to see this? And if you are into hints and spoilers, maybe, you never know. I don't think it's going to happen, but The Rock did an appearance on the New Heights podcast, and, he did some of the hijinks and hilarity, but it was a good interview, and you can kind of see where he's at. It's unfortunate his movie that people think that he could win an award for kind of tanked, didn't do all that well, so we'll see what happens. The opponent, the tickets are flying off the shelves, $200 a pop minimum. To sit in the lower bowl, it's about $1,000, so it's crazy, and it's going to be wild. John Cena's last match is going to approach, and we'll see how the company handles the last 4 dates. I can't wait to fire it up. This was a great week of wrestling. Things are popping off. You're getting new stars, new energy. You're getting a great opportunity to see how really in the end take in the Sami Zayn Open Challenge. That's really made the U.S. title really exciting on SmackDown. So we'll get an opportunity to see. And then in the end, to credit Rhea Ripley. She's doing a great job in terms of just being able to take advantage when she gets to go back to her home country. And now moving forward, it's going to be great to see if, Stephanie Vacour goes down the road of fighting Rhea Ripley. So there's so much juicy, enticing, delicious opportunities in the world of wrestling, and we'll be here to cover it all in the coming weeks. Thank you, cuz. Another great broadcast flew by. I can't wait for next weekend where we break it all down on the next episode of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast.